Hey guys, welcome back. In this tutorial, I'm going to look at lighting as our last option. Okay, we've finished everything. This is our last tutorial in the series until we move on to something else. So I'm going to create a 3D container this time because we are working with lighting and it's just easier to see. And I promise to show you how texture opacity works. And the best way to show you that is using 3D container. So I'm going to work with 300 frames. I'm going to play that up to 200. Press 5 to shade it. Now let's go back to lighting. We're going to turn off self shadow. Look at that, it's going to pop in and bang. Okay, hardware texturing is a way of actually showing, giving you a visual representation of what the fluid is going to look like once it's rendered. So technically it's got no influence to this fluid except showing you giving you an example of what it's going to look like once it's rendered. So I'm going to keep that on check. So shadow opacity, this is adding opacity to your shadows. Alright, so but like right now it's thick, lighter, thick, lighter, that type of thing. And I promise to show you what texture opacity is. Alright, so make sure its hardware is textured, hardware shadow is checked. Go up, and now we've got opacity texture gain. This adds depth to your fluid, adds that opacity, makes it more rich, makes it more visible, and threshold will push it an extra mile. I'll put it to maximum, why not, so that you guys can see, because the internet can be, YouTube can be unpredictable. Sometimes you might not see if I put it lower, but anyway, there you can see. If I go ahead and render this bad boy, you can see the shadows in there. Okay, you can see the shadows in right about there. See the shadow? That's beautiful if you ask me. Now let's go back to what we're here for, lighting. You've got the shadow diffusion. Shadow diffusion is pretty much a way of diffusing the shadows into the whites, pretty much mixing the whites, the blacks into these whites or the grays. Okay, so you can sort of mix it in like that depending on what you want. So I wouldn't like to mix it too much, so maybe just a tidbit. Lighting type right now is directional, and you've got diagonal and point light. Okay, point light, you have to put it in there, but we'll get to that. Let's leave it on directional. And you can also increase the brightness of your light. Okay, if you want to create some sort of like it's about to rain clouds, probably dark clouds, something like that. Alright, and you've got light color as well. You can mess around with the light color. That's more like you can mix up the colors. Okay, right now you can put it red if you want, if you've seen red clouds before, but I'm gonna leave it at that. And you can mess around with that opacity, and that's the difference between the black and the color that you've actually picked. I'm going to leave it about there and make it bright a little bit so you can see the shadows. Yes, and the other thing that you can play around with is the ambient brightness. Okay, the ambient brightness is another thing that you can play around with, and the mixture of those two. This is pretty much self-explanatory, but we'll learn more about this. But you just need to have an idea of what that is, but learn as much as you can before we get into the real meats, what do they call it, meat and potatoes of the whole shebang. And you've got those you've got the lighting color there, ambient color. You can sort of mess around with that add that. Yep, so technically that's what that is, and if you want you can uncheck real lights and put your own lights in there, or whatever it is that you want, and specify the direction of your light. But I like to use real lights, and if you want, again, you can change the light type from directional to diagonal depending on what you want. These are more like presets, I would say. And we can throw a light in there, why not? We can throw a light in there. And add some gray to it. I like that browny color. And just go ahead and render this. See? So it depends entirely on what you are after. So let's go ahead and learn a few more things in 3D containers before we can start doing the real work. Okay, I just want you guys to be very familiar with this stuff. I don't want you guys to be confused. And I'm also going to show you what these attributes do, like emit from objects, paint fluid effect, with curve, initial state, all this stuff. I'll show you what that does. So I hope you guys enjoyed the boring introduction to this, because I know that's boring, was boring for me too. Now we are going to start doing some fun stuff. Don't worry about that. Thank you very much, guys, and I hope you've subscribed. And please support my sponsors by supporting them. Support the adverts. They put adverts on my channel, so make sure you support those, because they're the ones that keep me going. Well, partly. Anyway, guys, we'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.